is a good God. This is the day He has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. From the set of choices, we celebrate with our Teachers International Day. We want you teachers to know that we are proud of you. You're hardworking, and we want you to keep the good work up. You have your reward both on earth, and as you honor God, your reward also in heaven. So, happy International Teachers Day from this set of choices. We want to continue from where we left off, and we can't move off as yet servanthood because we realize the importance of servantship, servanthood, however you put it over. We're all servants. And so we are accountable to God. We want to encourage you to read for yourself 2 Samuel chapter 9, and so you will be able to apply the principles of the Word of God to your daily lives. It's only once we can live this life. We either be successful or a failure. And I want you to listen to me. We cannot afford to be a failure. With God, all things are possible. And so we say again, welcome to Choices. God bless you. And God continue to bless beautiful Guyana.
When we hold office, whatever office that might be, we have to see ourselves as being set up by God, particularly in the public setting. It is God who would have given us an opportunity to serve, to hold public office, and therefore, last week we made mention that once we are in that office, it is our duty, our responsibility to serve to the best of our abilities so that everyone can benefit. The power of service is so important because service doesn't look at your condition, your situation, whether you're rich, you're poor, whether you have or you have not. It's about doing what is right in terms of using that kind of ability or that kind of skill that God has given to you. And the wise man spoke about it in Proverbs when he talks about not withholding what is due to people. There's some people who ensure that that you are dragged out when a matter could be expedited quickly, and one has to guard against that, because as long as God positions you in an office, it's to serve. And the Apostle Paul wrote about that when he talked about the hand and the foot. Can you imagine if everyone who's been given an assignment fulfills that assignment to the best of their ability? Look at the impact that will take place. People will be happy. People will be empowered. There will be lots of moving forward, advancement, and so on. So servanthood is not to be taken lightly, and one has to understand that it is not a word that that should be looked down upon. Sometimes when people hear servanthood, they think about a maid. This is not the context, So it's about using that gifting, that talent that God has given to you to the benefit of others. It has nothing to be doing. As a matter of fact, it is the most powerful position, particularly in the sight of God, one attribute one could display to serve. Because remember, even Jesus himself said the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve. And so we can't get better than that. So the issue of servanthood, it is so important for the advancement of a school, a church, a nation, a society. If everybody just serve, we will see the kind of progress that will be made.
Dr. Keisha, as a medical doctor, you are serving not only the city, but I think you served in a region or regions. What is your perception of the value of service?
Thank you, Bishop. Indeed, I serve nationally in my portfolio, and it's so important when it comes to servanthood. I look at it twofold. Having an opportunity to actually receive and subsequently being able to serve the regions. So one of the quick scenarios that I could recall is knowing that I had the opportunity to attend a workshop that initially I was not slated to attend. However, I was given that opportunity to have the most advanced information in terms of management of our viral disease. And having traveled abroad, received this information, I am now tasked with ensuring that the regions, of course, with the collective teams, are now equipped to ensure that we have better protocols, better strategies, even as we are able to combat the viral diseases. So the techniques that I would have learned there, I'm now tasked to share those techniques and ensure that the regions are just as equipped as the central areas. So it's always important to serve, and service don't necessarily look like we want it to look. Sometimes it involves the late nights, sometimes it involves traveling to the different regions. And so service, giving the best of what you would have been able to receive to the others as well, too, so that we all can be able to grow together. So that's just one of the areas I believe that servanthood continues down the line.
You know, Limor, as an attorney, we live in a very litigious society, increasingly litigious society. What is your perception of serving?
Well, I'll give you a story, Bishop. Service and serving and servanthood, it means most times putting a profit aside. I remember when I first came out of law school, and a woman, she was so stressed from my local community. It was a land dispute, it was her property. But you know how life is, sometimes people try to steal parts of it. But she came to me, and I'm young out of law school, trying to know how I'm going to get back all of this money invested. But then she came to me with her story, and I realized that this woman was desperate and she needed help. So what I basically did, I said, you know what, I won't charge anything, and I'll help you with this case. And it was a pretty straightforward case because it is her land. She has all of the rights over it. She has a title and everything, and the survey and everything in order. But it's just getting to the court step, going before a judge, and it's accessing justice. It was quite costly for her. But as a bridge, as that advocate, as that person standing between justice and someone losing their livelihood, I simply denied myself a profit. And there are many other people like that woman who simply cannot have justice because they don't have access in the finances. Sometimes as attorneys, as people who hold that power, I remembered that me being here, where I am, the position that I'm in, it's not because of myself. It's because someone else saw it fit to provide access for me so that I can be in this position to be an attorney. So what I did, I simply transferred that act of kindness that was extended to me. I extended it to someone else because I knew I could get a case. Back then, I used to do anything. So I was like, you know what? This is a mother struggling. Profit that doesn't make sense in this case. And so I helped her. And that is what is required of us in most cases. We have to deny our profit and look at the human being who needs access give them that access. Profit and all of those things will come. You have to serve.
When you were a banker, thank you very much. When you were a banker, Dr. Paul, how did you serve, and what can you say to young people who are involved in professional work?
Thank you, Bishop. As a banker, there are several opportunities, not only to serve or gift, but to serve people generally. And I'm always of the perception that service is about others, serving others. So we find opportunities to serve people in whichever department I worked, in whichever area of speciality. The underlining thrust was to serve. And one of the things that stood out for me as a banker is, I put it this way: we have internal customers, referred to as staff, and external customers. And sometimes we overlook the internal customers. So in our serving, we have to find a way to be a blessing to our colleagues. And so young people, whoever you are, in your sphere of operation, find a way to be a blessing to your colleagues, a source of encouragement. And in that way, you not only build camaraderie, but you build a solid foundation of trust and relationship. You build a solid foundation of moving and working together to fulfill not only the company's mission and vision, but at the end, we find opportunities to fulfill dreams, to fulfill ambitions of others who seek the services of the bank.
Dr. Lee, you would have had a different perspective of servant leadership. And I want to ask you and have you through Dr. Watson to reflect on serving people from different religions. Not just serving your own, serving people from different religions. We are a powerfully designed nation. How did you manage that?
Thanks, Bishop. It's an interesting question. But for my 36 plus years that I served in the Ghana Defense Force, a word has remained with me, well, among several others, the word ethos. That speaks to the fact, or speaks to the importance of character. It speaks to spirit. It speaks to the atmosphere. It speaks to the climate in which one operates. Being cognizant of the fact that there are others who may not share the same perspective as I do, but because of the fact that that was drilled into me, I saw each person that I had the privilege to serve and to serve with as being human being. I tell you what, during my tenure in the force, I had under my command soldiers and officers who were Hindus, Muslims, Baha'is, and those who did not subscribe to a particular faith. What I did, I ensured that, for example, on Fridays when the Muslims wanted to go to the mosque, I ensured that time was given to them. When they were important Muslims and Hindu holidays, I ensured that they weren't required to work duty. And what I found that in doing and ensuring those things happen, I found that they became somewhat endearing to me. And I found opportunities where I was able to counsel, despite the fact that they subscribe to different religious persuasion. I used my position when they came to counsel people both for marriage, people who were encountering difficulties with the death of a family member and all of that. And so I was able to, because of what the scripture says, I like particular what I think we read earlier in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 27. It was in my power to serve, to help. So I did not discriminate based on religious belief and persuasion. So it was a, what should I say? It was a bit tricky, but I ensured that they were human beings. They chose the faith that they wanted to follow, but being the officer in charge, I ensured that I provided the scope and the opportunity. Then they saw me as being human, concerned about their well-being, and also I found the opportunity to counsel and to advise.
It's an interesting question, and Dr. Lake, I can't remember how many years you said, but I'm still serving in the public sector. I've been a public sector servant for 36 years, thereabout now. Started in 1987 as a trained teacher and went right up the ranks to chief education officer. And it's God has given you an opportunity to really help people. And I could recall vividly in Essequibo, for example. I remember being appointed in Essequibo as district education officer, and the place was, those who came to see me, they were predominantly people of East Indian descent. Some of them were Hindus, Muslims, and so on. And I can't tell you the whole story and all the words that were used, but there was an Indian guy who came to see me, Hindu guy, and so on. And when he was going out, he said to some of his friends, he said, "Now go to the other one, go to the black man. They got one black man there." They got one black man there. The black man a good man. Now go to the next one. And because you listen to people and you see how best you could help them. There are people, when you hold public office, there are people who have they might say, "Sir, today I have a walk," or something, and they want some time off, right? Or they got to go to the mass. I had that several times. Fridays, I got to go and pray. You're a servant, right? So Dr. Lee used the word discrimination. So, you don't get to say, "Man, well, I'm Pentecostal, so me sending him no way." And so because remember, you're building relationships all the time. You're building relationships with people all the time. And sometimes you win people by just how you function. But I'll give you this one. Sometimes I do some bold things, and sometimes you get yourself in trouble for it. But this a particular one, I don't think this one had any trouble. The man that I buy vehicles from, he's a strong Hindu guy and so on. So he invited me when he opened his house, a big, massive house he built in Providence. So he said, "Man, I really would like you to come back." So I came. So, of course, the pandit was there and so on and so on. While some people were fearful of going inside, they had space in the yard, they stayed outside. I went inside and I sat in a chair because they had chairs inside too. And, when it's time now for speeches, right? I got up, went to the pandit, took his mic, and give a speech. I really like, what my friend Rambaran has done, and the God we serve is a good God. You could interpret that as well, but the God I serve is a good God, and God has blessed you and so on. And I give a little speech about God and how God is capable and so on. And when I'm finished now, the pandit turned and said, "There's a lot of people would have never come here. People look like you would have never come here and say a word, And so, so Navin called me when I left the night. He called me, he said, "Man, man, you did something there, man, and so on. So the thing is this, that I think about Jesus. If Jesus was like doing that, and deciding who he want to save and who he doesn't want to save. And that's why we keep saying the Christ we serve is a universal man. He's for everybody. He's not for any particular group of people. The Jesus we're talking about, he loves everyone. He wants everyone to come to him so that they could be saved. So it was a beautiful experience, Bishop, in the 36 years, being able to serve people of all religions, from all walks of life also.
Pastor Court, thank you very much, Pastor Court. We are really biting in and, gaining traction as the rubber reaches the road. And you're overseas. You not only work among people in the foreign service of their nations, but you attend a church where people who are from different nations fellowship. How do you manage? How do you place yourself as a servant in that context?
Thank you, Bishop. You're right about that. Firstly, serving in the international community, in a diplomatic field, it requires a poise. You must conduct yourself in a certain manner. There's certain language and words that you use when you're writing note verbals, when you're speaking with ambassadors, or their assistants and so forth. The decorum, the way you carry yourself, the way you dress, everything has to be spot on, or you run the risk of offending someone. So someone from a different culture, maybe from Africa, from Asia, you would not find the Asians speaking loudly, or they would not be bold and tell you exactly what it is that they're feeling. So you have to learn innuendos, you have to learn body language. All of these things are important as a leader, and particularly we're speaking about servant leaders. So you have to know what is right. I heard at church once, we have a strong African congregation or song sect, and I heard once, I got up once to help.
Pastored by a female Indian.
Pastored by a female Indian, correct. A lot of Europeans, Asians, and Africans. And I heard once, when our little one was young, I got up to help my wife to help him. He was crying, and I took the baby from her, and I went to the back of the church. And later, a few weeks after, a young lady came up to me and said, I thought you were African, but when you got up one day to help your wife with the baby, I know you're not African. So these these things, for us, it is taken as a given that you help your spouse. But in African culture, it is different. The lady deals with the child or children. So all of these things you have to understand. And as a servant leader, you have to be careful of not offending someone's culture by when they invite you out to eat. You cannot refuse their meals. So you have to find a way to navigate these various scenarios. So that is part of being a servant leader, understanding the different innuendos, understanding the environment you're in, understanding the people you are speaking to. It's very important in all facets of leadership, from the top to the middle to the bottom. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are. We need to understand what is a servant leader. And the best servant leader we had in this earth is Jesus. It was Jesus when he came here. And he, as Dr. Hudson so eloquently put it just shortly, he went to different fields, went to everyone. It doesn't matter who. And that is what we need to understand. Once we understand that, we will be better leaders, better able to serve, better equipped to serve, and do that handsomely. Bishop.
Thank you. Limar, you will do the wrap, but let me just read for our benefit Proverbs 3:27. This counsel, this advice is directed to anyone. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due. Allow that to settle in your mind. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Do not say to your neighbor, come back tomorrow and I'll give it to you, when you already have it with you. Sound counsel. Limar?
Amen. As Bishop would have rightfully pointed out, sometimes it's not about the glitz, it's not about the glamour. Sometimes it's not about who is seeing you. It is about the position that God has entrusted you to be in and your ability to answer that call. Sometimes when we answer that call, the people who we're helping, they may not be of our persuasion. They may not have our skin color. They may not have our skin tone. They may not be where you're from, where you grew up. We must answer that call. And it's going to take a deep sense of humility. You're going to have to humble yourself. You look at someone else and you think that you might think that you're better than them because you're in a particular position or you had that opportunity. But you're helping that person, standing in the gap for that person. And once you act selflessly, you will create a chain reaction that will benefit our nation. From your one act of kindness, you will see that God will use that and help someone else. And so from this set of choices this morning, we want to say, serve well with God's help. God bless you. See you next week.
We thank you for joining us on Choices today. Remember, you can join us at First Assembly, LNP Durban Street, Workmanville, Georgetown, Guyana, for any of our special services. I'm Celicia on behalf of the set, reminding you that your whole life is the sum of your choices. God bless you.